And I've seen this tendency of this 6 and 9 and 8% growth rates. We Indians tend to fall quickly in this trap. And I would always say a word of caution. Never forget we're a developing economy. And this 8% ultimately is applied to an absolute number. So when you apply 8 to, let's say, $1 million, and you apply 1 to $1 trillion, which is what is, in my case, I would say a developed nation, you get different results. So let's never fall into the trap of the growth rate, because they do not define the absolute numbers the economy is earning by itself. And finally, and more importantly, as a nation, we have this growth trajectory which is based on industrial growth now. That is where our focus should be. We should not focus on what BRICS will do or what others will do. Focus on industry. If your industry goes up and your agriculture, by God's grace, is doing well, you're on the right path. So that's what my take on this whole thing would be primarily.
You don't think the services sector will be the key for India?
Oh, it is. It is already. The reason I didn't mention it is because I prefer the government does not touch it too often, because it's doing very well by itself. It's still the, and frankly, if services and agriculture is the one which has been holding this year for us. So I personally feel it's a great, fantastic thing. But don't forget that developed nations are also extremely successful on services. UK is now 80% on services. So I don't think I want to compete with them. Whereas industrial, I can give them a run for their money. Labor is still cheaper here.
Don't you think that the services sector is very largely dependent on what you call the brick and mortar? If that doesn't go up, then how will the service sector pick up?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying. If I was a developed country, let's pick up UK since I mentioned it a few minutes back. UK, depending on services, is a totally different ball game, because they are playing with the world. They are not just playing with UK. There's not a inward bound economies. They can have a stock exchange and the whole world is coming to them. So financial services is they have a fair playing ground all over the world. But look at India. When we talk services, we are completely and fully dependent on the industries around us. So if the industrial output comes down, and I can give you an example straight up from my end, if the market comes down and the industrial comes down, the first thing they do is, let's cut down some fee of the auditors, or let's cut down some fee of the tax advisor or somewhere. It has a direct impact on us. So therefore, the services cannot and will not grow independent till the time we have industrial growth. And that way, I respect the China model. They have really put the industrial sector on the forefront.
In America and Europe, where we were supplying much of our international services, we found that the economies there are now in trouble, and they are obviously going to try and stop outsourcing of services where jobs go overseas. On the other hand, we were not doing much work with Japan, even though there is a different set of constraints. Do you think Japan could fill that gap of lost services that we have had or are likely to have with Europe and America?
First of all, Europe and America can cut away people movement across the border, because that is something they might want to protect. But like US has a certain expertise, innovation, Apple's, Microsoft's, don't forget the ability to provide services of a particular segment, BPOs, call centers. These are expertise which we have developed. Either they want to go around and reinvent the wheel, which I have my doubt, or they'll prefer lower cost centers. So cross-border movement of people per se will not affect services. And as long as the economy is moving in a particular direction, softwares keep on getting replaced, new software come, new technology come, they will need people to build software for them.
But there has been a bit of a backlash
Yes.
across the board in all developed countries, where jobs have become a sensitive issue.
Yes.
Nobody wants
Yes.
it going overseas. They want their business kept in the country. In fact, even Obama, in his State of the Nation address, said that he will give incentives to companies who keep jobs in the US,
Yes.
and have a disincentive for taking jobs overseas.
Absolutely.
So don't you think that would affect India?
It will. I mean, see, it's life is all quid pro. So I mean, I believe that if such kind of incentivizations or disincentivizations happen outside, India will reciprocate, and I don't think we will ever get into this thing. But having said that, and for a minute assuming that these kind of situations will happen, and America is a free country and it encourages free trade, I don't think they will go overboard on these things. But having said that, and imagining that they see these things also happen, India has a fair chance of across Asia. Don't forget, Indonesia is picking up, Thailand is picking up, China is already on the move. Japan is on the move. And if we are not going to, if we diplomatically manage things well, there's a huge market here. All of them could use certain expertise we have. Now look at China. That's our biggest trading partner. Whatever be our diplomatic relationship or issues around them, the fact is, number one trading partner of India is China. Same way, if we are able to put our services to them properly, they will be our number one partner of service. We can play this many times. But
as an expert on the Japanese market, tell me, why is it that such a small component of our IT sector has been exported to Japan? A very small component operates in Japan, about 4%.
Very, very small, absolutely 4%. I think the main issue earlier was language. English language was one constraint. And don't forget, it was not just Japan. Our love for the developed side and to move towards westward, because of the language comfort and the huge orders flowing in, we were overlooking Japan, as equally they were overlooking us, because they never thought that we could provide all these things. But the interaction levels are at the best. We are seeing fantastic movement of business. Even day before yesterday, I was reading that Japan has now decided to introduce a policy of special zones, where corporates from Asia will be invited to set up, and they'll be given special incentives, they'll be given special licenses. These are indications of a new Japan. So I don't think so. I think we are going to see some fantastic changes on the IT side between India and Japan very shortly, if not India and China and India and Indonesia and other locations as well.
Where do you see specific opportunities today in the IT sector with Japan?
I think financial services segment, because I've been working a lot with Japan, as you well know, and I'm very aware that the banking industry on the software side can be highly upgraded in Japan. Internet banking is hardly there in Japan, so that's an opportunity for them, and that's an opportunity for us. So I would say banking, but already we have seen a lot of Wipro, Infosys, they have already moved in this segment. But down under, as you move towards retail side everywhere, ERP, you will see there's an acceptance now, and their interaction with India is high, and I'm expecting it to become even better in the days ahead.
That's why no one covers India quite like we do. Sri Lankan Airlines, you're our world.
Surya, New Delhi.
Kuwait Airways, wings of comfort, day and night. A beautiful experience, lip-smacking meals, exotic destinations, a world of comfort. Kuwait Airways, let's fly together.
Of all the emerging economies, which would you say would be the best target for Indian businessmen today? So where should Indians go and invest and explore for business?
From emerging markets, I would, if you would allow me to reverse it, I would rather say Indians, instead of focusing on emerging markets, at least on certain sectors, should focus on developed countries and go in for the technology, because some technologies are getting discarded. Because let's say UK, automotive giant at one time, huge amount of wonderful technology sitting out there. Same goes for Germany on certain segments. This is a great time to go shopping. This is a great time to go buy. So if you have to invest your money, get those technologies, make yourself even better. And these are wonderful technologies. You cannot deny the fact that Europe, Germany, France, UK have had the best technologies. So I would say go shopping there first, and then develop markets inside out here. Because right now I've seen our acceptance, because maybe we haven't done diplomatically very well with these countries, our acceptance in SAARC area, I won't say it's like on the top of the world. By the time we get ready there, then we can move in. I mean, if I was to say, let's go and set up something in Bangladesh, maybe people will hesitate, but maybe they won't.